My name's Gary Lynn, and you are on Cryptids. I mean, it's sort of come back to the point where I decided to look into CE5, so Dr. Stephen Greer's CE5, which is human-initiated contact
Yep.
with extraterrestrials. Um, Now, it does involve meditation.
Yep.
There is he does have a 20-minute guided meditation that you basically follow, and with this guided meditation for X amount of time before it, you have some tones that you play, and these tones were actually recorded within crop circles.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was a frequency that when they were investigating a crop circle, they recorded these frequencies.
Yep.
Anyway, they've turned that into a tone. So you actually play these tones for 10, 15, 20, however long you want to do it.
Yep.
And then you go into the guided meditation of the CE5 and just listen to Stephen Greer talk. Um, Basically, follow the guided meditation.
Yep.
And really, but I've spoken to a lot of people about the CE5, and they have a lot of trouble making that connection. But I think
Yep.
a lot of people need to really put themselves in that moment. Once you put
Yeah.
yourself in the moment and visualize what's going on,
Yep.
not just listen to the guided meditation, visualize
Yep.
what's going on. Especially like he says in that meditation to see yourself sending a beacon out into the universe of where
Yep.
you are. And I think a lot of people have a bit of trouble visualizing that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I think once people sort of get their heads around that visualization aspect, that
Yep.
it should be a lot more successful. Yeah, over the years, just kept pushing with that. And once doing that, things just kicked off. I was doing it maybe every second night,
Yep.
second or third night. It basically got to the point every time I do a CE5 meditation, you start seeing lights flash in the sky, things zipping and zagging and
Yeah.
pulsing like what would they call flash bulbs.
Yep.
See flash bulbs all the time, and it got to the point where I wouldn't even have to meditate. I'd just go outside at night and I'd start getting flash bulbs and stuff
Yeah.
zigging and zagging. Even to the point where my mother come down for a weekend and we went outside and was standing in the front yard under the stars and I looked up, bang, there's a flash bulb. I said, "Oh, Mum, did you see that?" And she, "No, I missed it." And so I looked at that location and said, "My mother missed it. Can you please do it again?" Mum looks up, bang, bang, two flash bulbs from the same
No,
spot as
that's
soon as
awesome.
Mum looks up.
Yeah.
So obviously I created that beacon, but I will say like I haven't of late. I haven't I haven't done too much C5, so I guess that beacon's dimmed a fair bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, even like it's even to the point where I'd be out by myself in the forest, or I'd be on an AYR trip, and we'd be in the depths for somewhere at night. And there's always these two lights that would follow me every time I look in the sky, in the horizon, whatever. There's always these two lights every time I go out, so just at the right time. Every time I go, I look at the right time, or I
Yeah.
go at the back at the right time. There's these two lights.
Yeah.
Only whenever I was out there, and even the point where Bark and Dean they witnessed this as well. Um, but there was another case where myself, Dean, and Shannon were down at Little Narang Dam, which is a smaller feeder dam towards Hings Dam, which is the Gold Coast feeder supply,
Yeah. Yeah.
water supply.
Yep.
And Dean's up the track a little bit further. I guess this sort of comes back to what is going on with the big fellas and the UFO
Yep.
aspect. Something that does hold a lot of water. A lot of people, both in Australia and the US and the UK, other places they do talk about because it does happen
Yep.
a fair bit. I know a lot of people have heard this story, but I'll tell it again for those that haven't heard it. We're at this location at Little Doreen Dam, and Dean's up the track about 100 metres.
Yep.
Myself and Shannon stayed at base camp, and directly above us we had open tree canopy so we could see the stars.
Yep.
And around us, we were surrounded by tall grey gums, but directly above us was open tree canopy.
Yeah.
And we all of a sudden hear this buzzing mechanical noise, and we look up, and there's a big black V, about the size of two F trucks, nose to nose in a V formation. Just hovers directly over top of us.
Yeah.
And this is moments after Dean said that he can hear something heavy bipedal walking through the forest down below him in the valley.
Yeah.
And we've had many strange UFO type encounters and sightings and that kind of thing. And even people that have contacted, even to this day, mate, like the reports don't stop coming in.
Yeah, I've been out in the bush or even at home and that, and you're looking up at the sky, and then all of a sudden something black, big goes over, and the only reason you know that it goes over is because the stars disappear for a few seconds. You know what I mean? It's like darker than the night. Like, that's bloody wild, eh? Do you think it's UFOs, or do you think it's more energy based?
I think it's UFOs. The reason being is that for a while there, I could sense the energy in the house was heavy and thick.
Yeah.
Every couple of nights, and even to the point where if I've had a massive day at work, and I knew it was then because I'd seen ETs in the house twice.
Yep.
And I knew it was them. Again, you could just feel how heavy and thick the energy in the house was.
Yeah.
And I'd be going to bed. If I had a crappy day at work, I'd speak openly to the area.
Yeah.
Speak openly to the area and say, look, not tonight, guys. Big day. I'm tired. Just not tonight. Yeah. And nothing. Then the energy in the house would be light for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And after a couple of weeks, it'd come back heavy again. But I always knew they were here. I mean, after delving into this further and whatnot, it turns out I've had contact since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But it's only in later years when I've realised what the hell's actually going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much I'd always know when they've been around because I'd have the crappiest sleep ever.
Yeah.
And really, really strange dreams and just a crappy tossing turning.
Yeah.
Sleep all night, like next to no sleep all night.
Yeah.
And that was always after like the energy in the house is thick.
Yeah.
The house is thick and heavy. And that was one thing that I've experienced that. But then my wife, she woke up one night. I think she said it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. She wakes up and looks over and sees this dark silhouette standing over top of me while I slept. And
you know what? Quickly, I've heard this before. And it's still fucking giving me goosebumps. You told me, you know what I mean? Let's talk about this. You go on, so she's seen that?
Yeah, wow. So she's seen that, and she's like, am I still asleep, or am I, what? Huh? So she said she took a breath and blinked her eyes, as you do, sort of focus, looked again, and yes, there's a dark silhouette standing over top of me while I'm asleep. And then she goes, then I just went back to sleep. And I was like, no. You didn't go back to sleep. You weren't meant to wake up, so they put you back to sleep.
100%.
I mean, so you basically say that's two sightings in the bedroom because so she's seen the being standing over top of me. I've seen one peeking in the bedroom door, looking at me. Same sort of deal, mate. Same sort of deal, bro. I'm asleep. I just suddenly woke up and sat up, look at the doorway, and there's an ET standing there, and I'm. Even if you were standing there, it'd still give you a fright, like because you woke up. So I go, oh, jeez, and I look back, gone.
I've woken up. The amount of time they go on about the 3 o'clock, the witching hour.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've woken up. I spoke to you before. I've woken up, can't get back to sleep. I walk outside, think I'll have a smoke and go back to bed. Walk outside. Within 30 seconds, I light in the smoke, look up in the sky, light. Stops halfway, heads back the other direction. I'm like, all the times I could have woken up, and the amount of times I wake up and just go back to sleep and that, every time that I've woken up at that time and I go outside to have a smoke, there's something I see. You know what I mean? Like, it's different if I just went and didn't do anything. Like, I could have been a non-smoker. I wouldn't have seen it and that. But for that to happen, like, that's on purpose. And like you said, you wake up and there's one looking at you like, it's pretty wild, eh?
Oh, mate, it's incredible. And I think the biggest regret I have with these beings, these extraterrestrial beings,
Yeah.
was the one that I saw in the kitchen that was backlit by the salt lamp.
Yeah.
And I was going to bed and went around into the hallway, do 180
Yeah.
to go upstairs. And the stairs aren't solid stairs, they're individual steps.
Yep.
And there's a window at the back of the house there, and I looked in the window and I saw this reflection coming through the stairs into the window at the back. And I stuck my head back around in that little hallway, looking back in the kitchen, and there's an ET being backlit by it's sort of like a black silhouette, backlit by the salt lamp.
Yeah.
But the regretful part was I just went, okay, I walked upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Why didn't you say hello? Why didn't you go, hi, come on? You know, someone. Okay, and walked upstairs. I'll regret that particular situation. I'll regret that for the rest of my life that I didn't.
Yeah, but
do more than just
if
say,
you
okay.
did something, you probably wouldn't have remembered it. They would have got to you somehow, and you wouldn't have even remembered it. How many times it's probably happened and you've done it and you don't remember?
Yeah. Well, I guess that comes back to people that listen to intuition and synchronicities and observe what's going on in their lives. Are usually the ones that have the more vivid dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams that don't seem like a dream. Something like, I guess it comes back to astral travel, which I mean, actually speaking of that, my daughter recently has been telling me about when she dreams, she floats out of the bedroom and floats down the stairs and goes out the front yard.
Yeah.
I'm like, hang on, back up a bit and get her to tell me again. And I said, do you think you're dreaming? I don't know. No,
how old is she?
6 turning 7.
Yeah, well, there you go. My daughter last year, she just turned 8, and she'd never seen anything to do with aliens or any of this stuff that I do. And she woke up one night petrified about this ship she was on with these weird-looking people. She had this dream that she'd never seen any of that stuff to dream about it. And she's like, we went blah, blah, blah. We were flying through the sky, and these people, they were trying to talk to me, and it scared me, and I don't ever want to go back and all this blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy shit, that sounds like a freaking astral. Yeah, or you know what I mean? It's like, holy shit. Like, it's wild, and that's awesome that your daughter can talk to you about that sort of stuff, and you're not going, oh, you're silly, don't talk about that. And because that's how many kids have had that happen. Like, I'm going to sound stupid right now, but when I was a kid, up until even like 12, I used to wake up in the middle of the night to noises in my room or at my window, and I used to shit myself and run. The amount of times, nearly every night of the week, I'd do that, and they just thought, I'm just scared of the dark. And one day he goes, you know what? He goes, there's fucking something there that whole time. We just said, don't worry, you weren't being a pussy. All this stuff that's happened to you, he said, it was happening because you heard a noise and you felt something sit on your feet at the end of your bed and stuff like that. He said, the amount of times you said that, and we just went, just fucking whatever. The amount of stuff that you've seen and heard and everything, and it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's good that they can talk to you about stuff like.
Yeah, I guess me being who I am, I can't really pass it off as well. Plus, I mean, if I'm honest, I mean, there's a couple of walking trails up here. I'll take her up there. She knows what's going on. She's heard stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when she was 3, she's seen Yowies twice.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'll sort of take her up to these particular locations where she's with me, she's safe. There's no, I guess I'm using her as bait, but I'm not actually putting a piece of meat around the neck and saying, walk that way,
Yeah, you just know she's with you, something will happen. Yeah.
That's right. So it's basically taking her up there in the sense of bait, where because like with the big fellas, because they do respond to kids.
Yeah.
So I'll take her up there and I'll get her to whistle and I'll get her to make noises and speak to the forest. So bait in that sense, not in a sadistic way.
And I know you've had a few things happen in the bush when you've put your daughter's stuff out. I know there was a scrunchie you put out and you found it in a symbol, and like in that little TP thing, and just other stuff like that. Like,
well, I mean, I think like that situation, like I'm going to put that situation back to an energy sense as well, because we come to find out that particular location was sitting on a ley line.
right.
And ley lines being the energy lines that wrap around the earth.
Yeah.
And this spot was sitting on a ley line.
Yeah.
These beings were coming in. They're making structures and symbols and rock stacks and weaving branches, weaving leaves, and as you spoke about before with the grass and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Woven together, palm leaves, folding palm leaves over and weaving the leaves together, but like woven like a basket.
Yeah.
And even like there's a lower location here that we're going down to, and they in a soft way of asking, they tie a branch to a vine directly across the path that we're going down. But I mean, it was very easily passable. It was like a polite way of saying, please stop going to this lower location.
Yeah.
We got the hint, not straight away, but we got the hint. We thought, let's try to stay up a bit on this higher location.
Yeah.
Once we did that, and I guess respected their wishes to stay away from this lower location.
Yeah.
And this lower location was full of footprints and probably the most intricate symbols I've ever found were getting this lower location.
Yeah.
Rock stacks, like the symbol you would have seen, like there's like 20 sticks and like an arrow triangle way, and there's that rock standing in the center.
Yeah.
That's from down in this lower spot.
Yeah, right.
So that, and there's also like saplings that have been snapped off and then twisted and tied. And so we decided, okay, let's stay up here. And once we stayed up here, stuff up here went nuts, kicking off, and then, we ended up making a footprint cast out of it. Snaps here. It was incredible, and like with my daughter's scrunchie. So, because basically when I go to an area, I'll always introduce myself to that area. In respect to forest spirits, Aboriginal spirits, these beings. If people think that's kooky spooky, that's your problem, not mine. So I'll introduce myself to that area out of respect, and when I leave, I'll thank the area and say goodbye. So I've got Willow doing the same thing. And with that scrunchie, I got her to speak to the area, announce who she is, and say she's going to gift this pink scrunchie. And once she did that, over weeks we watched this scrunchie sitting on top of an X mark, and now it's moved up into this tree. Now it's part of this rock stack. Now it's part of these symbols over here. Now it's back up on a tree over here. I mean, like that area was just absolutely incredible. And the only reason we lost access to it because the people had to move because they were renting the area. But the strange thing was once they had to move, that was like a door closing. I mean, yes. I mean, I guess that's everyone. So everyone understands that that's where Shannon used to live. And the night that the time that things stopped was he had about 2 weeks. Before he had to move out, and I said to him that I want to go in there, speak to the area, say that we're going to be back in 3 sleeps. So they know what's going on. And we, once I did that, we come out of there. We're standing in the driveway. Got this big vocalization from down in there. So they're obviously in there when we're in there. But obviously we didn't know exactly where they were. They were obviously being on covert. We sort of half went back in, but we'd already been in there an hour. And out of respect, I didn't want to push boundaries, so we sort of went into a point, but I didn't want to go further than that. Just to again respect for them in the area. And unfortunately, the next night, Shannon spoke to the area and said, "Look, guys, thank you for your actions, but we unfortunately have to move. So we won't be here any longer." And then the next night, he said he could hear what sounded like a whimpering, upset voice.
Yeah, right.
And timber being thrown around.
Yeah.
And again, like even though I'm saying this, I've cut out. I know like I've spoken to you about this, but to your viewers, I've cut out a lot. There's so much has happened
Yeah.
from we first started this area to now.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shannon spoke to this area and said, unfortunately, we have to move. Thank you, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
The next night, he can hear sad whimpering voice and timber being thrown around. The next day, I go in there, everything's gone. All the
Yeah.
structures, all the rock stacks,
Yeah, right.
everything's gone.
Yeah.
Crystals that we gifted, clear quartz and smoky quartz.
Yep.
And we had a gifting rock that we were using.
Yep.
So now the gifting rock was upturned, and there was a Y symbol stick pointing up the hill a bit. It didn't quite click on straight away because I'm looking everywhere. Look, everything's taken down and gone.
Yeah.
And I happened to actually pay attention to where this Y stick that was sitting on top of the gifting rock was pointing, and looked up there. And there's the clear quartz and the smoky quartz sitting with, actually I had a labradorite plate,
Yeah.
probably about the size of a dinner plate. And they jammed that vertically into the ground. And then in front of it, they had ferns that they broke off and put ferns in front of it. And then they had like a 6-inch, 5-6-inch X marker.
Yep.
And the two crystals sitting in front of that.
Yeah, right.
And then about a meter, half a meter in front of that was another stick, a smaller stick jammed in the ground. And then another meter after that was a bigger stick jammed in the ground. And the end of the stick was split like that. And there was a rock jammed in the top.
Yeah, right.
I guess like for that rock jammed in the top, think of Jurassic Park.
Yep.
With old Buzz walking cane with the amber with mosquito.
Yep.
Yeah, just think of that, the stick with the top and this rock jammed in the top of the split. And from that day on, nothing. And then I even spoke to the property owner a couple of months later. Said, have you heard or seen anything? Because like the property owners on the same property, but they're over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And he used to say, like, we hear things walking around the house and like tapping the windows. We think they're ETs, and then when I started saying no, I don't think they're ETs. I think it's the big fellas. It sort of started to make sense to him. So he knew what I was on about.
Yeah.
But yeah, since this happened and they pulled everything down, and I spoke to the property owner a couple months later. He said nothing. It's been dead quiet.
Yeah, right.
Makes sense. Nothing. Yeah, so I think that's probably the closest visually and physically that I've been to making actual contact.
Yeah.
Was that property? Like if you could almost taste it. It was that close.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, I mean, I did have a bit of a sook at Shannon for doing that a bit too early. It's is what it is. Either way, I'm certainly not going to stop the search for contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep pushing forward in a physical and an energy sense.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so getting back to the C5 stuff, and that's what you're saying. Your daughter had them dreams and stuff like that. Is there anything else significant you might have seen, or with doing that with people, or like is there anything you think would be good for people to hear about? You know what I mean?
I think it's a case of like just giving it a go. You don't need to be in a group. You can do it by yourself.
Yep.
Obviously, if you've got some like-minded friends, have a crack at it. I mean, you're not losing anything.
Yep.
It's nothing like doing a Ouija board or something like that.
Yeah.
It's complete polar opposite to each other.
Yeah.
You aren't summoning demons, so nothing like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of incredible experiences I've had since the C5. I used to be part of the Gold Coast CE5 group and seen a lot of incredible stuff. With those group meetups. Even the case of one night, had my night vision camera up there, so not a thermal camera as we were talking earlier.
Yep.
Just a normal night vision camera, and we had 3 lights coming across the sky. I pulled the night vision camera up on the 3rd light.
Yeah.
As soon as I made a verbal note that I'm watching the 3rd one, it stopped, and started going back the other direction.
Yeah, that's wild.
Things like that, and even other experiences, just sitting and being peaceful and being happy and one with yourself, and things are zipping and zagging. And we even had one this light one night. We call it the Nike tick.
Yeah.
Myself and Shannon sitting across the road in the park and having a good chat, and things were going off. Like, it was crazy. There's big red lights flashing. There's other stuff going on over here. There's a light on top of Springbrook because from the park across the road, it looks over Hinge Dam in the mountains and looks at Springbrook. And there's a strange light up there. And again, this is all either before or after C5, or it's been done 2 or 3 nights before. Actually, that is one thing I'll note with the C5. Sometimes it doesn't always happen the night of. It might be a couple of nights later that you look in the sky and something will happen. But yeah, we're sitting across the road there, and there's lights on top. There's a strange light on top of Springbrook that we can see. So Shannon flashes a torch, and it sort of goes off and flashes back. And we're thinking, is it just someone up at Springbrook doing the same thing as us? We're flashing a torch at them, they're flashing a torch at us. That's what we're thinking at first. But then we started going, okay, give us 2 flashes, bang bang. We ended up getting, I think the best one was, okay, give us 6 flashes, 6 flashes. And like, nah, unless they're using telepathy and they can read our minds, they have no idea. I said, can you give us 3 flashes? Can you give us 6 flashes? And we're getting 3, we're getting 6.
Yeah, that's wild.
And Springbrook is known for a lot of UFO stuff. But even like this particular night, what we call the Nike tick. So people think of it, the Nike tick. That's exactly like that. We look up, a couple of flashes, and looking in a slight vertical but slightly northerly direction. We see this light brighten a little bit, and then bang, takes off like a Nike tick. You know, like in movies and stuff like that, how like when a craft takes off and leaves that trail in the stars.
Even like a sparkler, like
exactly.
That's awesome.
It was a Nike bang, this gold Nike tick, and it happened so fast. And again, it's. I mean, the other thing that people have to note as well is that it is known that there are negative ET races out there. So you just got to make sure when you're doing the C5 that you are inviting loving and positive beings only. Because I have heard some stories of people who have done CE5 and welcomed any and all beings, and next thing they're being harassed by ETs in the house that aren't very nice.
It makes sense. A lot of people use Ouija boards and all that. Depends on what you're asking for. I've heard some horror stories of Ouija boards, and even people like mates I went to school with, and that some of them stories I'll tell you one day. Just nightmare sort of stuff, horror movies, like all because they think they'll be funny and ask for something a bit more wild. You know what I mean? Like people don't realise that it's real. It's not muck around. It's not just a little board game you're pulling out from the cupboard. It's not. You're not just sitting there thinking of stuff you want to see. Like it's not just I wish I could get a Ferrari. That's not what you're doing. Like it's
exactly right.
What you asked for will come looking for you. If you don't see it, it will keep showing itself until you do see it. Like it's pretty wild.
This is one thing where people are like, you're tinfoil hat wearers and you're conspiracy theorists and blah blah blah. But they also forget that the governments have been experimenting with this kind of stuff for a long time. You know, be it ETs or whatever the hell's going on. Even
remote viewing. Yeah, I was about to say the remote viewers. They've got people they hire to do that. Like
it's energy work.
Yeah.
But no, it's all tinfoil hat wearing stuff apparently.
Yeah, it's just look at the stories